Hey everybody, it's me Edward Jones back in a new video, the Rick Grimes Survival Standard. It's been a while since I've done a video. The last one I put up was on the new 6.2 that I'm looking to put in my truck. A status update on my truck. I'm still waiting to hear back from the shop that's gonna do the work. But I've been but it's giving me enough time to make preparation whenever I can. Been checking out my starter. The issue that I may run into is the starter bolts and the new engine and the engine from the CUCV. The starter bolts came loose, so what may have to happen is they may have to have threaded inserts, and that will keep the starter bolts from coming out. The risk of doing that is that you take off too much material from the block, and you could potentially crack that portion of the block off, making it useless. But I got a backup plan. Hopefully, I won't have to use it, but I may do another video on that down the road. But so far, still working on the truck, getting around the bicycle. But that's what Plan B's and Plan C's and D's and what have you are for. But I have been keeping up with The Walking Dead. As you can see, I got my sheriff's department in Kings County hat on. I guess I can do this. I guess I wear this hat when I do Walking Dead videos, as opposed to wearing the cowboy hat, which got ruined in the flood that we had. So I got to make do with what I got. But and plus I'm pretty sure General S. Lee is happy to see me wearing this hat rather than rather than the cowboy hat. He's always comparing that hat to like the one that Carl has. But I remember a few years ago, if some of you guys remember K-Goat, he did a video where it was kind of like a series. He asked the viewer a question, and do a follow up video on what their response, on what the producer's response would be. The producer being the person making the video, like myself. And it was a scenario where you're going through the woods. You got an AR, AK, and you got two mags, and you got to find a map. And there are three different directions you can go in. You can go in either direction that leads you to Woodbury, where there's the governor, the farm where there's Shane, or the prison where there's Rick. I remember Kago he made a statement stating how every basic civilization that Rick has gone to is collapsed. And I remember he called it Rick's poison. And I'm not sure if I did a video about that. Because my response was I would go to the prison, stating I really do like Rick's leadership skills and how he encourages the people that people that side with him to basically be a part of his family. And he breaks his back to take care of them because he knows that in turn they'll do the same for him. But I remember just hearing that phrase Rick's poison, and I was thinking about it, and then it's funny I'm making a video about it now, since that video was made roughly 2 years ago. But we've all been keeping. I'm pretty sure a lot of us have been keeping up on The Walking Dead. And something I noticed is that I guess Rick, if you looked at the way you look at, for one thing, the python he carries, it's like a symbol. It's like a symbol of it's an authoritative symbol, but it's also like a symbol of some of the parts of the old world, part before all this has happened, because that's what he carried. That he was a sheriff, Kings County Sheriff's Department, and that was his sidearm. It's like he's kept it through all the mess that's going on throughout the series, and it's kind of like no matter what happens, that python is still there. In a sense, it's kind of like his standards, his moral standards, or the benchmark he sets. Basically, his standards of survival has been somewhat of a test to every I guess group that he's been a part of. And I think it's one that shows that, I guess, the standard that he upholds shows that there are flaws or even great defects in the other groups that he's encountered. And I'll start with the campsite for one. In season one, if you remember, I remember episodes from season one Guts, where the group is stuck up on the roof, and Rick encounters them and they radio back to Shane that they're stuck on the roof, there are walkers all around, and what Shane does is he basically calls it a loss. He refuses to go out, refuses to have any go out there or send anyone out there to go get him. But what Rick does, he comes up with a sick plan, of covering himself in Glenn and guts, and the plan works. He gets everyone out of there, without Merle, which also goes to my the next point. Rick has this case of not wanting to leave people behind. Now, as we've seen through the series, it hasn't always been perfect. A big benefit he's had is having good teammates or family members, as you will, like Glenn and Daryl, Sean, Carol, people to keep him grounded. But that's one thing he always had about him, was that he doesn't want to leave anyone behind. From Glenn when he got kidnapped by the Vatos, and he's going to go, and that's my favorite episode where he was going to go in by himself. But Daryl and T-Dog saw that, he can't let him go back by himself. So they joined him. From Glenn to to some of the people that the people at the campsite like, all the way down to Merle, to only Daryl and T-Dog were only the ones. They're the only ones who wanted to go back and get him. And Rick devised a plan on as to how to do it. But that's the benchmark right there. Do you leave people when is it appropriate to leave people behind? Do you leave people behind when the odds seem stacked against them? Even when Sophia in season 2, when she was lost, he pushed for them to keep for them to keep looking for her. And sadly, they found her, as a walker in the barn. But he still didn't give up. Even when Shane was calling for them to just counter as a loss. So that's one thing I'll say is Rick isn't a poison. He's like a measuring stick. He's a benchmark of when it comes to decisions being made for survival, and he's always wanted to do the right thing, even if it's tough, even if it does cost, even if it's costly. He still aims to do the right thing. We can also go back to with comparing to Woodbury, in the same scenario. I definitely want to go to Woodbury. Even though they had all the nice amenities of what seems to be a civilized society, it's pretty screwed up at the ground level. And Rick's introduction, basically he got involved in that when Glenn and Maggie were kidnapped, and it was going to be covered up by murdering the two of them, by throwing them in a pit full of walkers. But he organized a team, and like Project Pat, did some kick doors and got his friends out. And it shook things up, and rightfully so, because that was a group that was, the people there were I don't know if they were just ignorant by chance or willful ignorance, but they didn't see what was going on behind. They didn't see what was going on behind the curtains as to how they got all those nice things within Woodbury. You can look at Terminus. Terminus seemed to be a thriving, somewhat of a thriving community. At the face. But before Rick got there, he stashed away guns, and turns out the place full of cannibals. But he was able to regroup with his original group, and with the help of Carol, another member that he had to kick out because of her decisions, but came in handy in that situation. They all worked together and got out of Terminus. He didn't even find a way to even kill the rest of the people from Terminus. It's like all these things left. It's like all these things that he's been involved in. Every group that different groups he's encountered, even the ones at the hospital, all the cops and the people who are the orderlies. He even when that went bad, he still made it a plan to do what's right, and he offered everyone else who was being kept there to come back with them, and only Noah went with them. Now we fast forward to Alexandria, and if we've seen the last episode, where it was called, it was episode where, in season 5, where he still wanted to figure out what was wrong with this place. And it turns out, well, first off, no weapons, and we see that Rick is a big supporter of personal armament. um, and I was like, this was one red. That was like one maybe one red flag, but he's willing to go along with it as well as the other people in this group. But it came down to where they saw that people were weak. They would have no idea what it was like on the outside. Where Rick and his group, they were survivalists. Uh, Die hard, down to the bone survivalists. They knew how to handle themselves out there. Even without a gun, even without a gun and a knife, even without water or food. Or I guess what would be conventional food. I guess I'm not sure a dog would count as food, but they knew how to survive out there. And as soon as they get to this place, Alexandria, they realize the place is weak, and he had to tell them how it is. And it is weak to the point where where Deanna, she allowed for Pete to abuse his family, only on account of he's a doctor. And so with Rick stepping in that situation, it shows that even if someone has certain skills, there's certain behavior that can't be put up with. And it carries on even to where we see the situation with where he had the plan to lead the mass herd of it was an army, mass army of walkers away from Alexandria. It was working fine until the wolves got to Alexandria, and they wreaked havoc. And the big problem with that place was, and you remember I remember Rick said to Deanna when they were building one of the walls that they were building the elbow. It was like a right angle. It was going to direct the army in a different direction. He told her that another thing that has to happen is everyone has to be armed and know how to fight. And I could tell from looking at her face was she did not like that one bit. I guess what kind of person she was in government, we got an idea as to how she saw things, how she liked to see things. But now she has to see where her ideas have ended up, and has ended up costing so many people's lives. Has ended up almost creating mutiny where people wanted to raid the pantry, and people didn't know how to fight, they didn't know how to defend themselves, and they basically saw themselves as they were going to die eventually, so they were going to try to enjoy themselves best they could. Even her son got drunk. But she started to see what Rick was talking about, even to the point where she even put up it was cool to see her put up a fight with a broken bottle. To see her covered in blood, and she asked Rick, was what I wanted if this place just pie in the sky? He said no, because he's been there when at the prison when they actually turned into a survivable community with the farm when he was engaged in the farming. It was something he also wanted at the prison. So something I surmise with all these groups that he's encountered, the standard that he holds in terms of preserving preserving some type of order. He's introduced that into each group that he's encountered, and a lot of times, a lot of times the groups have fallen because they were like building a house on sand. They didn't have a solid foundation, and some did pretty well. Like I said, with the prison, that lasted pretty well until Brian Harriet came back with the tank, and basically he was offered asylum. He burnt that burnt that olive that olive branch, and everything went crashing down. But now we see Rick gets to Alexandria, and we see that he's hoping he's going to work to try to turn this place around. Because Deanna, Rick was telling them that you need to leave them, and she said they don't need me, they need you, because she sees in him the stuff that what she lacked, which was the experience of what the world had become. His critic, the type of thinking he does, looking far ahead, the calls he's made, the things that wanting everyone armed for one thing is one thing that she didn't like, but he supported it, and that idea has shown to greatly outweigh the plan that she had for Alexandria. So basically, it seemed like she said that they need him, and well, we see that the people at Alexandria are basically like what Carol was like, in season 1 and 2, and now we see where she is now, where she's a straight up goon on Rick's side, and it's going to be interesting to see what direction the show heads in. But going back to, Rick's poison. Not Rick's poison. It's not poison. Rick's not poison. He's a benchmark, and he's a benchmark of basically of law and order, of maintaining what is good, and working to maintain what is good. And it's interesting to see, how the show plays it out through his decisions, through the ups and the downs, and where the show is right now. And I say the show is going. I say it's going in a pretty good direction. Um, but tell me what you think. Do you agree with Cagold's his old video where he said, he called it Rick's poison, or do you think what Rick has introduced to each group has been something to actually test it, to really test it, because it's easy, leaving people behind, stealing, murdering, all that stuff is easy, but when it comes down to, the looking down the road, will those things actually measure up? When or do they? Can they go? Can they work for the long haul? Or was the things that Rick has done? Do you see that as being something that's something that actually can actually work for the long haul for a group? In terms of keeping people safe, fighting back, being watching your six, as Iris says. But please share your thoughts. I'd like to see a video response. See comments in the comment section. Like I said, I'll keep you updated on the progress on the truck. Right now, we're getting a lot of rain right now, so it's hard to tell where things are gonna be headed. But I'll try to keep everybody posted. Gripes, complaints, send me a PM. We'll see what I can do to address any concerns. But that's my video. Rick Grimes benchmark. I think that's what I call the video. Rick Grimes benchmark. I'm Edward Jones. Thanks for watching.